Hello and welcome to episode 293 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Last year, we did a super flex show. Guys, we're learning how to, do our 1 year punts. We're learning how to, do a consolidated loan package where we start to get, 13 picks inside the top 10 rounds. And today we're startup season's right around the corner. Most people are drafted in February. Smash Accept 17 is going to be the day after the Super Bowl, February 10th, baby. So make sure you guys are ready to get into that area. We're going to talk startups. We're going to give you some strategies, some early ADP. We're going to really get you guys into position to absolutely dominate your draft. Nobody better to do that with than my man Snoog.
I didn't get to do one last year, so I'm excited. Startups, I live for startups. Like 2 years ago, I did like 16 in one friggin' offseason, and then I was like, okay, none this year. This is bad, but I'm excited for this one. I mean, I'm looking at the Dynasty Data Lab ADP sheet right now, and it's crazy. There's a lot of steals, a lot of good values. Honestly, this is the time of the year where you can do a startup and get so many steals because people really start, like when you start to get closer to the NFL season, like in that summer stretch, it's a lot more accurate. Like people know how to value these rookie picks. They know how to value these rookie players. They know how to value some of these younger guys that are starting to really rise up draft boards. So right now is when you crush your startups, and we're going to show you how to do that.
And we're going to, throughout the entire process here into February, we're going to show you so many different strategies and ways to do that. But I think you hit the nail on the head here is when you look at the top 36 picks right now, you got 13 quarterbacks, 14 wide receivers, 5 running backs, 2 tight ends, 2 rookie picks. But if you do this draft in May, you're going to see 6 rookie picks, or at least you're going to see at least 4 rookie picks in this top 36. I mean, that's one of the biggest discrepancies. Having the 102 be ranked, right at pick 36 to me is a little bit wild, and I think if you guys want to, right now what we're doing in the Smash Accept Patreon, we have your top 100 overall picks. We have tiered positional rankings. I took the top 100 and I have every single one where it says, it says Josh Allen, 101 QB1, Lamar Jackson, 102 QB2, all the way down to you get to, right at that 36 range where you say Kyler Murray, QB 13. That way you know where you're getting things. And Snoog, I mean, the first position we want to talk about and the most important pick for your super flex startup draft is your quarterbacks. And this year, what I'm really starting to see is last year, I believe we had 10 quarterbacks go in the first round. Now we're down to just 6. I would argue I'm only taking 5. It's Josh Allen 1, Lamar or Daniels 2, interchangeable, Burrow and Jalen at 4 and 5, maybe Mahomes at the end of the first.
You gotta take Mahomes.
He's going in mid-seconds of most drafts that I'm seeing there. So I mean, this is that fun time. I think I'm trying to, in years past, we've talked about trading back from that early part of the first into that back end of the first. I'm staying put. I am trying to get one of these big 5 quarterbacks and then Chase and Jefferson right there. And then Bowers is my top 8, because I think the quarterback position, the way Daniels, Allen, and Lamar have played, there's no debate. Like, these guys are game changers. These are guys that are putting up 25 to 28 points every single week and winning your leagues. And in years past, I'm trading back, but Snoog, I think I got to take them now. There's such a positional advantage that these 3 guys create more so than anybody else other than, Burrow and Hurts. I mean, you move back to QB9. How many games did CJ Stroud win you this year? I'm going to be honest, 1. You move back to Caleb Williams at QB11 or Bo Nix at QB12. I mean, they're not doing anything close to these guys.
The way I'm looking at this right now, just looking at the first 2 rounds, and we won't even get into round 3. I'm thinking in my head, okay, there's a chance, a very good one, that I can leave this startup draft, with 2 of either one of the big 6 quarterbacks you just named. So Allen, Lamar, Daniels, Burrow, Hurts, Mahomes. And then in that second round, I'm doing everything I can to land Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, Drake May, even a Jordan Love type quarterback if I can. You leave this startup with 2 quarterbacks right off rip. That gives you round 3, 4, and 5 to hit Drake London, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson, Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, Rome Odunze. Even looking at some of the running backs, Breece Hall's in that range, Achane's in that range. You got AJ Brown in that range, Lad McConkey, the 102. You have so many abilities and picks and opportunities to take a ton of good wideouts and even like a stud tight end and Trey McBride, where if you do vice versa and you get like maybe a Nico Collins in round 2 or Gibbs, not even Gibbs. Gibbs shouldn't be in round 2. People are crazy for letting that slide.
I have Gibbs at 109.
Yeah, he's over CD and Neighbors for me easily. He is like a CMC type running back. And there's like him and Bijan are like in their own tier, in my opinion. But anyways, like if you could land like one of those guys, like people would take Marv or people would take Drake London over Marv anyways, and they have a full round apart from each other. So just think about the difference between like Jordan Love versus like Bo Nix or Jared Goff, and the difference between having like a London and Marv. So always remember that, like always know your board, know your values, who you like, who you don't like. I love in every startup now that I'm going to do, and my plan and my strategy in the past has always been leave the first 4 rounds of 2 quarterbacks and maybe 1 to 2 wideouts is always how I love to build my teams. So right now, just looking at it, I could leave with, let's see what they did Josh Allen, Drake May. If you have that opportunity, and then you have the ability to go get like Garrett Wilson and Rashee Rice. Like that is an absolutely phenomenal spot. So much easier to fill in wideouts through rookie drafts of running backs than it is to land another Drake May or it is to land another Josh Allen, especially when your team's good and finishing in that late first range. So a lot of crazy good values I see already early on, especially in the first 1 to 2 rounds that are going to give people ability to make super teams.
No, I'm with you there for sure, because this is a season where we're really trying to move ourselves into getting those elite quarterbacks. Every single year, I'm always trying to make sure that I go ahead and I make it a priority to go ahead and try to get those guys, trying to get 2 of those quarterbacks. And this is the year where if I can do that, man, like you're getting an opportunity to really get, honestly, you're gonna set yourself up to get Drake May in the second to try to. Oh, that didn't come out right. Is that up now?
Yeah. Nope.
We up now?
Yep.
All Perfect. Right. So I'm looking at the big 3. I think in years past, we're talking about moving back. A lot of people are saying, you know what, Dad, should I move from the 101 to the 106 plus a first? I'm not doing it this year because, you look at Jefferson's going there at that 6th spot. The difference in quarterbacks between Josh Allen and getting Justin Jefferson is a massive gap. I'm telling people the only way I'm trading one of these big 3 is to get a 26 first and then a 3-5 pick swap. I am not trying to go all the way back. I'm not trying to get myself into a spot where I'm going to have to rely on Jordan Love or Justin Herbert as my QB1. I need one of these big 5 alphas to go ahead and, put myself into position to dominate.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I actually really like how they have these first 9 picks. I would flip Burrow, put him 4. I'd put Chase 5, Jefferson 6, Hurts 7. I think I'm flipping Mahomes over Bowers for 8, and I'm putting Bowers 9. And then I'm going to go Gibbs, Lamb, Bijan, then Neighbors. And I think this is damn near spot on what I would do if I was drafting in order. So I think they did do. This is a really good representation of an accurate ADP, especially for what I would do. I just think, like you flip Gibbs, like you bump Gibbs up a little, you bump Mahomes ahead of Bowers, and this is great. So if you're in the first, I think that 11-12 range is damn near amazing. If you could get Mahomes slip and you can get like Mahomes and Gibbs or Mahomes and Justin Herbert, like that's a phenomenal start in my opinion.
See, the way I have it is, and this comes into play because a lot of times, especially in Smash Accept 17, we do Kentucky Derby style where you pick where you're going to draft. And, if you're at that end of the first where if it's 3-round reversal, I would honestly play it where I'm getting CeeDee Lamb and Malik Neighbors. And then at 301, on most drafts, you're going to be able to get either Caleb Williams or Drake May at 301.
Yeah.
You're kind of building an elite level team where you're like, damn, I have 2 top-notch foundational wide receivers. I have guys that I'm going to be able to build around because I have Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, Bijan Robinson all up there in that 10 through 12 range, and I'm perfectly fine grabbing those guys because this is a very different look than what we were used to last year. Last year, it was 10. I mean, last year we had Josh 1, Mahomes 2, Lamar 3, I think we had
Stroud.
Hurts,
Stroud was 4.
Hurts, Stroud, Burrow, Herbert, Kyler, Caleb. I mean, it was, you know, and then you had what? You had Bijan, Chase, and Jefferson. So it was like 9 and 3.
And Lamb, yeah. It was weird.
And now we have a spot where you look in round 2, according to this here, is like, and these are, if you guys don't go over to Dynasty Data Lab, you have to. I mean, they have a phenomenal website there. They do a great product. We reference them a lot when we talk about trades. These are actual, you know, startup information from December 20th to January 20th. And then tomorrow it'll be December 21st to January 21st, because they always do a 1 month sample size. So this is going to be updating consistently. But what I really try to look at here is, Snoog, if this is a 0.75 tight end premium, Brock Bowers at this point, you know, what I try to look at is you have your startup values and then you have your trade values. I mean, most people are going to say Mahomes is worth more than Brock Bowers, but in this particular format, this is crazy. I love Brock Bowers. Rob Gronkowski is the only other tight end ever taken round 1 in startups at this point in Superflex. Brock Bowers is such an elite level asset. It's him and it's McBride, then it's everybody else. And I'm taking, if I don't get Bowers, I'm taking McBride in the second, as crazy as that sounds, because this is just such a positional advantage.
Yeah, especially if it's like heavy tight end premium or 2 tight end sets where it's like they're scoring, like McBride and Bowers both scored a ridiculous amount of fantasy points in like a 0.75 or a full tight end premium league. So then, like, obviously it varies from league to league. If you're a no tight end premium, I'm probably not taking Bowers in the first round at all. I'm taking Gibbs, I'm taking Neighbors, I'm taking Lamb, I'm taking all these guys over him. But if it's like a 0.75, like he's probably the first one off the board out of those guys after the Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I mean, 100+ receptions, 1,100 yards as a rookie tight end on an offense with like Aiden O'Connell. Who was the other quarterback? Gardner Minshew. The team sucked. And now they have a new head coach coming in, new offensive coordinator coming in, new quarterback potentially. Like, it's just, we saw his floor. We really did. We saw Brock Bowers' floor, which is ridiculous to say, but I'm very impressed. I think we're at the deepest I've ever seen the Dynasty fantasy football landscape for a startup. The first 3 rounds, if I can leave with 3 of these guys, I feel even the first 4 rounds, if I leave with 4 of these guys.
Well, yeah, round 4.
I'm feeling damn good about my team. Like, damn good. There's no like CMC. There's none of those old vets like last year, the year before, like Tyreek, Kamara, CMC. These guys were sneaking into these ranges where they were landmines for people. I mean, they weren't, but like even back a year, like Dalvin Cook and those guys are kind of like in this like 6th, 7th, 8th round range, like D-Hop and some of those guys. Michael Thomas, like there was landmines that were older guys that if they got hurt, like CMC last year, loses all his value. And we highlighted that plenty of times. Maybe Saquon, could be that landmine here, but he is so freaking good, man. I think he has at least another year or 2 before he can become that landmine.
Yeah, inside the top 5 rounds, there's only 3 players over 27. It's Saquon, AJ Brown, and Josh Jacobs. And you got to feel good about taking any of those 3. I mean, that's the new landscape. That's the new area that we're talking about. And this is why, all those guys that were win now teams, Snoog, this is even just going to be even better to take your Alvin Kamaras in the 9th, your Joe Mixon in the, like you're going to get those guys. And that's why I love doing startups this time of year is you get supreme value on your running back. So the other cool thing that I'm starting to notice is we don't have a ton of running backs going. We have 3 running backs going inside the first 2 rounds. It's Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson. Really speaks to the fact, and obviously Ashton Junty. Yeah. Ashton Junty will move up. I would say by the time this is all said and done, I mean, you see him right now going to pick 21 because people aren't sure. But I would rather have Junty over Nico. Yeah. I think he's going to go over Stroud. He's going to go over Herbert. He's going to go over McBride. He belongs right there at like 16 with Brian Thomas Jr. I think that's what you're going to end up seeing is he's going to move all the way up to probably mid-second. And that's a little bit more risky when you get to that area.
If he goes 12 to the Cowboys, I'm taking him over BTJ. I'm taking him over Puka. Probably taking him over Amon-Ra. He's like right there with Amon-Ra, I think. And in the same tier with them, but like, come on. Like that's like 350+ point potential score right there. And an offense like Dallas with that draft capital. I mean, it's just process over results. Like we love these guys, these wide receivers in this range, but if he goes 20th to the Broncos, he's probably going to go right where he is right now, maybe above Nico. If he goes
Mhm.
12 to the Cowboys, then I think that he's going to gain a shoot ton of value coming up. So very interesting to look out here. But I see, like, on our cornerstone asset shows that we've been doing, like, I see many cornerstones in this top 3 rounds, honestly. So I'm very, very impressed with this right now.
It's absolutely foundational. And now in years past, now I'm not a big fan of the 2026 class. In years past, I would always say, you know what, I'm not willing to really give my third and a first to move into the second. But if you look at where you're at, I mean, would you give a first on top of Jackson Smith and Jigba to get to Puka? Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Or you get out of that fourth round where you're moving up from AJ Brown or Rashee Rice. Fourth round is pretty much dominated by running backs, but I'm really trying to get into some more of these foundational type wide receivers because you have, 4 guys at the top going round 1, round 2, you got another 4 guys going or 5 guys going. So that's 9 wide receivers in the first 2 rounds. I need one of these big wide receivers, as much temptation, unless Gibbs or Bijan really fall to early second, I really want to get one of these quarterbacks, one of these wide receivers, because if you come into the second round, you're going to be set up for a lot of wide receiver rooms where, at pick 6, you take Justin Jefferson, and then at pick 17, you're going to get Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, I mean, that just feels beyond sexy to start out, because I think what we're going to start seeing is the wide receivers are deep at the top, but then they get old real quick. Like, I don't want to move into, after you get past round 4, you're going to start taking guys that either you don't trust or they're old. We were talking about guys in that running back position. They're just going to load up like crazy in the back half. But I like the wide receiver layout. I mean, when you see these guys in the top 36, what wide receiver seems to be the best value to you right now?
AJ Brown, I think it's crazy good value. Like, he's like right in that almost 4th round range. Or would that be 3rd round?
Yes, he's 34, so he's picked.
34.
He's at the end of the 3rd. So
it's either him. It's either him or I really love that value on Garrett Wilson. Honestly, Marv's really good value there too. It's honestly any of the receivers after Nico is good value for where they are.
Because you're looking at pick 22 at the end of the 2nd, Marvin Harrison Jr. or mid-3rd is beautiful, right? It's Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ladd McConkey. And this is where last year we were always saying, you were taking these guys in the 5th round because they're now not Wilson, but the other guys you were taking round 5 because they're going to ascend into that top 3. And when you're talking about a dynasty startup, that's what you want, is you want guys that can ascend in value. This particular year, though, it looks like because they're so young, right? Every year is different. We talk about, last year you were taking a wide receiver, like at that point, like Puka Nacua over Christian McCaffrey, because you're like, Puka's just going to continue to go up in value. Inside the top 3 rounds, Snoog, there's not a lot of room to move up. It's a new landscape where that is very youth oriented and very high talent in those first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing. I hate that Kyren Williams pick. I hate that Sam Laporta pick. I'm not a big fan of. I really don't love that Bo Nix pick there. I think that's high for Bo Nix. I think
and
those are the only real I don't like picks, because look at Purdy in round 4. Sign me up all day for that. That is unbelievable. He's gonna get a fat contract. He's going to be healthy this upcoming year with healthy weapons, hopefully a healthy CMC. I love that Trevor Lawrence value there. We won't go too far because that's for another day, but kind of in those first 5 rounds, I'm leaving a quarterback and making sure I am leaving with 2 quarterbacks in the first 5 rounds. I'm fine going Josh Allen, wide out, running back, wide out. I'd be fine with this start. You could see this Josh Allen, Gibbs, London, maybe a JSN or an AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, 2 of those guys, and then going with a Trevor Lawrence or a Jared Goff in that 5th round. I think that's a great start. Just live here on news, the Bears just hired Ben Johnson. That's official. So Caleb Williams ain't going to be in this 3rd round much longer. And Rome Odunze is probably going to get a bunch of value. So Ben Johnson is the Chicago Bears live on this show.
Caleb Williams, honestly, where we're looking at him right here at pick 26 at QB 11, could be a 1st round pick next year. If Ben Johnson, that's where we wanted everybody to get, right? We wanted Caleb Williams to have an actual a head coach who knows what he's doing, a guy that, we saw what he did when he was in Detroit. I think you could see him really gain some value here, where right now you're getting him a full round behind Justin Herbert. You're getting him 2 full rounds behind Patrick Mahomes. And that's fantastic news. I mean, that really, Odunze, I think, is already at pick 49, is right there in that T. Higgins, Rashi Rice, AJ Brown. So I think he's almost appropriately valued, but Caleb Williams is too cheap.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think even like you can go even into the deeper look. Like, I think the Bears draft Ashton Junty, 10th overall. Lock it in. Hot take. I think it's going to happen now. He's going to get his Jahmyr Gibbs type running back, explosive, dynamic runner that's great in the receiving game to take off a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams. They're going to build out the offensive line through free agency with their cap space and through day 2 of the NFL draft. Or maybe they go after like a Caleb Johnson, one of those guys on day 2. But Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, these guys all take a big upstick in value, in my opinion. Not big, but they take a boost. I'm no longer like, get DJ Moore off my team. Like, now they have some type of structure and some type of guy that can build an offense around his quarterback and utilize their strengths and their skill sets to their advantage. So I'm excited now for the Chicago Bears offense next year. And I know we've been saying that for a while. I know we said that this year. It all starts with the head coach and the offensive coordinator. Without that, your team ain't doing anything. And I can promise you that.
I love that when we get that instant feedback. The other thing I'm looking for is, like, give me 2 guys here who you think are value pitfalls. I want to talk about 2 guys that you think seem like a trap, and then I want to talk about the biggest values in these top 3 rounds. For me, I think one of the biggest traps in this, and I hate to even say it, is the fact that we're taking Devon Achane over the 102. We're taking Devon Achane over Jackson Smith and Jigba, over Breece Hall. I mean, I think he is at a spot. We saw what was possible when Tua Tagovailoa goes out, right? If Jahmyr Gibbs were to lose Jared Goff for 6 weeks, he's a top 12 running back. When Devon Achane loses Tua Tagovailoa, he's barely an RB2.
He's not even playable. Yeah.
And this is where I think he's one of the biggest pitfalls in Dynasty. In redraft, I'll take that risk, right? But, I mean, we're one big hit from Tua to kind of fall out there. And then I think the other one you kind of already hit on, but I think you're right with Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is, I would much rather have 13 picks later, Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, 17 picks later,
even Trevor Lawrence. Not close.
I mean, 30
they're
picks
they're
later.
all already a same tier. Like,
Dak Prescott, 30
Young,
picks later. Tua Tagovailoa
Young,
is 41 picks later. So I mean, I think Bo Nix is a bit of a pitfall for me as well. So that late second, I'd much rather have Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Breece Hall, Kyler Murray for sure. And I think Kyler's going to be a good value there. But what are the 2 pitfalls for you in this area?
Yeah, you took 2 of them that I was going to say. So we align great there. I'm going to go Kyren Williams in that 4th range. I think that is an absolute landmark. That's even that mid-late 3rd range, actually.
I can't see
I think that is
him
the
over Bucky
biggest,
Irving at this point.
I think that I don't see him taking
no
over
sense.
JT, Bucky Irving. He's outside my top 10 running back. I'm taking James Cook and Jacobs over him. He isn't that good. And if you still like watch the games and watch him play and think that he's this superstar, you're wrong. And I'm sorry to tell you that. I'm sorry if I offend you. I'm sorry if you like him. He's good for fantasy. He's just one of those guys that, like Rachaad White, like these other guys, they're going to get a day 2 guy that comes in, just ends up being better than him. I know they did it with Blake Corum, he didn't work out in year 1. Not every rookie running back works out in year 1. But they could bring in another guy in the day 2 range or a free agent or get that opportunity for a guy that slips like a Travion Henderson, and they take him and Kyren Williams loses his value. He's not good. Like, he's a guy that could ruin your dynasty team by taking him in the 3rd round of your startup. Like, that's,
and we're gonna see this change massively because right now you and I have gotten everybody ahead of the curve, where right now the 103, I have Kyren Williams worth the 107, and people are taking him above the 103 just because they don't trust the rookie class, because someone's told them it's bad. Someone's misinformed them. Kyren Williams belongs. You're going to see these guys really start to push down, because I think the 101 is a little bit undervalued. The 102 is massively undervalued. I mean, I would take the 102 equal to Caleb Williams at pick 26. I maybe equal to London, but I mean, I would prefer it over A-Chain, Knicks, all those guys, even the 103 into that area. So I think the rookie picks are really going to start to push themselves up as we start to move. I know I stole some of yours. So biggest value in the top 36 picks. I mean, we're looking at guys where it's like, okay, I'm not taking A-Chain and Knicks. And sometimes knowing who to avoid picking is more important than like who we're trying to assess. But who's a big time steal here that you're like, you know what, if this guy's going at this pick, I'm jumping in all day.
Yeah, I'm loving the Drake May and Caleb Williams value
Yes.
right here in this third round, but I also really love that Purdy fourth round value. So those just quarterbacks is what I'm instantly seeing. Like, wow, like this is where I can kind of operate and build the team. But I'm loving Breece Hall's value right now. If I can get
RB5.
Breece Hall, I know he's a Jet, but as long as he gets volume, he's a stud. Like, and he wasn't healthy this year. Going into next year, 23 years old, you get a healthy Breece Hall, you get a new offensive coach, a new head coach, new offensive coordinator. Like you get maybe a crappy quarterback again. Who knows? Maybe it's a rookie guy and they lean on the run game. Like, I think Breece Hall could outperform that ADP. Like, he has RB1 overall upside, and you can get him in that like late third round range. I love that value. I think that's a great value for him. For a guy that's still young, he's not old. He's much better than Kyron, JT, and Bucky, who are the next guys. And he's better than he's literally better than A-Chain too. Like, I love A-Chain, but A-Chain there's some risk with him, and he wasn't that great of a runner this year, and the O-line stinks, and the Dolphins are a mess, just like the Jets are. So I think that Breece Hall value is really good there.
Yeah, I'm starting to look, and for me, I'm looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown and Puka Nacua. You know, they're not that far off from where CeeDee Lamb is at the late first. Mid-second, you're going to get this, and you're going to see a lot of leagues where quarterbacks are going to dominate that second round, where I think Puka Nacua is a absolute alpha, where you're getting him at wide receiver 6 in the mid-second, and I think you're going to be able to build around him. The other pitfall that I have is, you said Mahomes. I can't do it. I can't. I love Patrick Mahomes, but I think we're seeing Patrick Mahomes in that Brady era where he's taking care of the team, and that's the primary thing. Is he a steal, or is he a bit of a reach here at 9 overall? You know, last year I was fine taking him 3 or 4, but now we're talking back-to-back years with only 2 QB inside the top 12 finishes in 2 years. Like, Patrick Mahomes is now a bit of a game manager in comparison to what you can get later on in the draft. Am I crazy? Because I could take Baker Mayfield 34 picks later, who's outproduced Patrick Mahomes the last 2 years. I'm not saying he's better than Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes at QB6, I'm going to avoid that area, and I'd rather take, you know, if you can't trade back, give me Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, Bijan Robinson, because that's how I'm going to build my team. Am I wild?
I don't think you're wild. I think that's very reasonable. But
I just
think like what Mahomes. Yeah, that's true. But I think that his offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy, is gonna get a job somewhere else sometime soon because of the success of the Chiefs. That's just how it works. And I think that when that happens, like if you look at his if you look at his numbers with Bieniemy versus Nagy, they're like he's the top 3 quarterback every year with Bieniemy and with any other offensive coordinator where he's actually throwing the football a lot. Chiefs have a lot to do this offseason. I think they bring in a stud running back finally because Pacheco stinks. He's another one that's not good. Kareem Hunt's like a dinosaur. And I think they bring in, maybe they go after another tight end in a class like this. If they could go get like a Gunnar Helm or one of these Harold Fenner Juniors on day 2, or even if like like Colson Loveland, like if they can get him in that late first, like if they could just do anything like that just to replace Kelsey, because the tight end runs through that offense. It's very important for them. They got to build up that offense because their defense is friggin' lights out. Their coach is perfect. Everything's working. Just build weapons, build firepower. They did it with Worthy, and he's been great for them. So I think that Mahomes is just so safe with such a high floor every single year. Like taking Mahomes versus like taking let's just say like a Puka Nacua, right? Like thinking about it from that lens. Okay, if Stafford retires, who's the Rams quarterback and who's throwing a Puka Nacua, and does he lose value? Patrick Mahomes. he's good for 10 more years. Like, you're guaranteeing that he's going to be one of the, if not the best quarterback in the league for the next 10 years. He's going to be always making his stamp, and there's going to be games where he has those big spike weeks where he's old Patrick Mahomes. It's just one of those players. I think you know what you're getting with him, and you're getting a dynasty foundational piece that's going to be good forever. So why not just take him? Because like we saw Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, those guys play for 18 to 20 years. Like, that's ridiculous. So,
I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying in that area, Patrick Mahomes was in that area of 4+ firsts. Like, you were willing to pay 4 firsts for him. At this point, there's 2 guys that I would pay. Now there's 3 that I would pay 3.5 firsts for. It's just the changing of the guard where Lamar, Jaden, and Josh are the only guys that I'm willing to pay 3.5, 3+ firsts. I'd pay 3 for Burrow. I'd pay 2.5 for Hurts, and then I'm like, give me 2 for Mahomes is where we're at now. It's kind of dropped off there a little bit, at least for public perception, because it's so tough to trade him. I had him in multiple areas. If you're a contender, would you trade me for Patrick Mahomes? No.
Nah, I just wouldn't trade for him because he's so expensive. But
it's just it doesn't match the production always doesn't match the value. So we just wanted to bring you an idea of what the top 3 of the rounds look like. Again, 13 quarterbacks, 14 wide receivers. That makes me think, Snoog, if I don't get one of each of them in the first 3 rounds, it's going to get really dicey, because now we're talking about if you wait till the 4th round to take your first quarterback or your first wide receiver, now you're in a spot where you are dealing with all QB2s and wide receiver 2s. Running backs, if it's not Bijan or Gibbs, then you better just wait. Like, you do not need to take your guy early. If they fall to you in the early 2nd, I can see it, but you're stretching sometimes when you go there. Same thing with Bowers and McBride, absolutely positional values, guys that are going to help you dominate, but you're going to have to try to get a little bit more creative with your roster builds. We just wanted to bring you a quick idea of what the top 3 rounds look like. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for the Smash Accept YouTube. Check out the Patreon, and thanks again for tuning in, and enjoy the process.